Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the May 13th Investment and Strategy Committee. The voting members of this committee are myself, Councillor O'Connor, who's online, Councillor Blackmore, and of course, Mayor Clayton. I'll call us to order, and I have the privilege of getting started this meeting by reading a proclamation. This is for Economic Development Week. Whereas communities rely on economic development professionals to promote economic well-being and quality of life, for communities like Grande Prairie, that means coordinated activities that center, retain, and expand jobs in order to facilitate growth, enhance wealth, and provide a stable tax base. And whereas economic developers support entrepreneurship and innovation, help to launch the next generation of business that shape Alberta's economy, and whereas economic developers are engaged in a wide variety of settings, including rural and urban, local, state, provincial, and federal governments, public-private partnerships, chambers of commerce, post-secondary institutions, and other organizations. And whereas economic developers play a vital role in attracting and retaining quality jobs, developing vibrant communities, and enhancing the quality of life in their regions. And whereas economic developers work in the City of Grande Prairie within the province of Alberta. Now, therefore, I, Councillor Dylan Bressy of the City of Grande Prairie, do hereby proclaim May 12th to 16th, 2025 as Economic Development Week and encourage all citizens to recognize the contributions of economic developers to the growth and prosperity of our community. So we do appreciate our economic development team, who we know does a great job reaching out to both existing, new, and expanding businesses to help them get the resources they need, whether that's from the municipality, whether that's from other levels of government, or whether that's making connections with other businesses. So thank you to our awesome people who are in this room today and do the work throughout our community. And I am going to ask you folks to come on up, and we're going to do a formal presentation of the proclamation with Mayor Clayton and my colleagues. Well, it's always exciting to recognize people who are doing outstanding work in our community, so thank you again to our team. And with that, I will ask for a motion to adopt our agenda. Mayor Clayton.
So moved.
I'll call that to question. That motion carries, and with that, I get to bring us to our delegation business. So I know we've got representatives of our youth emergency shelter, so I know you've been here before, Ms. Wald, but just for those who haven't seen the routine before, we'll give you up to 5 minutes to present. Then council will get to ask you questions. And also, even though we know who you are, it'd just be great for members of the public if you'd introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Tanya Wald. I'm the Executive Director for Sunrise House. Am I close enough? Am I good? Okay. And I have with me today Cherie Schleider. She is my shelter program manager, so she'll be able to answer any sort of day-to-day questions you might have. So to give you a bit of an update, so over last year, we saw quite an increase in terms of intakes into shelter, which we anticipated. So the entry into the new building was very timely. So we had about 180 intakes last year. Prior to that, we usually sat around sort of the 120 mark, so quite an increase. What we did see on the flip side of that, though, which really speaks to how all of our programs and building is now functioning, is we saw a decrease in stay length. So while we saw some increase coming in, we're seeing them leaving shelter quicker. Very much goes back to with Cherie's team, and then the link in with our Kickstand Hub, as well as with our Family Natural Supports and Housing Program. So lots of diversion, more diversion happening, getting kids either back home or with natural supports quicker. We continue to struggle in the area of sort of mental health and addictions treatment in terms of residential supports. Anyone who's needing to access anything longer term is having to leave the region. Quite costly and usually a barrier for our families. So, we work with, of course, our local agencies. And so within the hub now, because we have nurse practitioners that are coming in, we have addictions workers, therapists that are actually coming in and doing some work on site. So that's helping us to mitigate some of that, but certainly continues to be a challenge for us. What we're really hoping to do this year, because I know you all heard me talk about, with this new facility and these expanded programs, our goal is to decrease homelessness in our region. Our goal is to turn that sort of tap off of transitioning into adult homelessness. And we're starting to see the signs for that. And it's hard to capture. So, for example, in our hub, we've had well over 500 youth come through the hub in the last year, coming in and accessing various supports. Those youth are not accessing shelter. Now, would they have accessed shelter? We don't know. But the fact that that's what we're seeing is definitely telling us a story of what our youth need and what we're able to provide to them. So we hope to, over this year, really look at sort of how we can capture that in a different way, as well continue to extend those programs and services within our building. We continue to do some pretty specific training. We're working right now with the Center for Human Trafficking to do some more training with our teams. Of course, we continue to see increases in exploitation. We talk about the various, drug busts and things like that happening. All of that goes hand in hand. So we continue to work really closely with our RCMP and a little bit now with the city policing. We've been having some conversations with them and really making sure our staff are trained and ready to respond to that. We have also cross-trained our whole team in terms of family and natural supports, which has really made a difference. So we're able to get connected with families quicker because more than just my FNS worker is able to do some of that initial work. So overall, we've had a really great year. We've had our challenges in figuring ourselves out in the new facility, but we're really it's showing that what we planned and what we did together is going to do what we've asked it to do. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the update. Thank you for the great work. And Councillor Blackmore.
Thank you for coming in. It's great to see you again, and I'm always really interested in the good work you're doing at the shelter. I'm wondering, and I know that this is probably a manpower issue as well as a FOIP issue, but I'm wondering if you're able to follow up with those youth that have left the shelter to ensure that they are housed and looked after into their early adult years. I don't know if you're able to do that.
Yeah,
because it is an additional workload.
Yeah, we do a little bit. Like we do have youth that just naturally stay connected to us or check in with us. Now that with some of our programs going up to 24, we're able to do a little bit more of that. Like with our housing program, and when they're leaving housing, there's more of that follow-up in that way. The other follow-up we do currently is with families. So once youth are returning home or going to other natural supports, our FNS team does follow up with family and sort of does check-ins. But yeah, it would be great. I'd love to be able to follow some of them longer. But yeah, it is a manpower piece, as well as, we really look at, we have a young person come into shelter, like we think we start at 12. And if we get them through shelter and back home, we're hoping to never have to have any contact again, like really, sort of pushing that through. And I think even with some of our families, once their child is back home again, some of them kind of want to sever that. Like, this was a really hard time and now we've got things figured out. And so it's a bit of a balance of figuring out how to do that in a good way Yeah. But I'm with you. I think it would be great to be able to follow some more.
And then my other question is the mental health and addiction support that you have coming into the shelter, that's provided through AHS?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, a bit of a mix. We have nurses through Northreach that come in, and then we have a nurse practitioner through Recovery Alberta, and then some work with the youth mental health team.
Okay, thanks.
Something I'm curious about is you hate to see an increase in need for access, but you're also sure glad that you got a shelter there that could accommodate the need for access. So it's a bad news, good news story in some ways. But I am curious, something I love about the new shelter is it's way more visible, and with your drop-in space, way less stigmatized for a kid to go there, way more comfortable. So I'm curious if you have a sense of Do you have such a big increase in kids accessing? How much of that is driven by there's actually more youth homelessness in the community, more kids that need it? And how much is driven by you're just a more comfortable place, they're actually accessing you now when they should? Do you have any sense in that whatsoever?
I think it's a bit of a combination. I think, we look at, and Cherie, please jump in and add to this. Like when we look at some of the reasons for intake, like it's such a big spectrum, but we're also seeing now youth that are accessing because of parent poverty or homelessness. So we actually have sort of full cyclical things happening as well. And we do have an increase in terms of mental health and addiction concerns with our young people. And that's also a driver behind that. The other big one is we have a lot of parents that are trying to access specialized supports and can't, and they run out of energy. And then they're showing up with their kid going, I've tried everything, now it's your turn. So it's kind of it's a real mix of it. But anything?
And then my next question is, for members of the public that are passionate about what you do and they want to support you, what's the next opportunity coming up that they could support you financially if they so choose?
Well, in terms of fundraising, we have our bootlegger event coming up with Stampede, and then we have our golf tournament coming up in June. But honestly, public can support us in lots of different ways, whether it's, of course, food is very expensive, so any donations like that are great. And there's a lot more opportunity now for volunteerism. Like we're in the process of building gardens right now. We have some groups of volunteers coming in for that. So I think there's lots of different ways that people can get involved with that drop-in space. It can be anything from coming in and volunteering and teaching guitar or coming and helping with homework in the fall. So there's really is lots of ways. So I just encourage people to just reach out and connect with how they'd like to show up and support it.
Great. Thank you. I'm not seeing anybody else with questions. So thank you again for not just presenting today, but more importantly, thank you for the work you and your staff and volunteers do. We really appreciate it.
Good.
Thank you. And looking down our agenda, we've got service area updates with Chief Whiteway.
Thank you, Chair Bressy. A few updates from the service area. So the Community Connections team would like to remind everyone that Saturday, May 17th is International Museum Day, and that takes place from 10 to 4. This is a collaboration between the Grande Prairie Museum, Philip J. Currie Dinosaur Museum, the Art Gallery of Grande Prairie, Boreal Wetland Center, and the Veterans Memorial Garden. Free shuttle service will be available to transport attendees between locations. In addition to that, the Budget 2026 engagement has been launched, and a new prioritization tool is available for residents to review and support projects for council consideration at budget deliberations in the fall. This tool can be accessed online at engage.cityofgp.com, and there will be more in-person engagement opportunities coming up next month. So those particular dates and information will be released in the coming weeks. Invest Grande Prairie on May 1st for National Physicians Day. The team joined the mayor and council members in visiting over 30 physicians' offices across the city. They delivered thank you cards and a small token of appreciation, and we're grateful for the chance to personally thank a few of their dedication to our community. 14 new business licenses were issued from April 15th to April 30th. 5 of these were for commercial businesses and 9 were for home-based businesses. Invest Grande Prairie also participated in a strategic planning session for the Growing the North Conference, exploring potential new themes for next year's event. Our communications team supported a number of announcements over the last couple weeks. This included the mosquito control, the return of Engage Grande Prairie, Youth Career Week, the Fire Start Home Assessment Program, and more. And finally, legislative and executive services are heavy into election planning. Site visits for voting sites are underway currently. The elections team met with the school division representatives last week to discuss any operational planning. And residents are encouraged to go to voterlink.ab.ca to register to vote. Staff in this department also attended the AB Muni's Risk Management Conference to learn about developments in insurance, case law, and risk management impacting local governments. Finally, City Hall has been extra busy with lots of school visits. Kids in elementary grades learning about municipal government and have had a chance to engage with multiple council members. And that does conclude my update today.
Thank you, Chief Whiteway. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'll turn it right back to you for the Grande Prairie Regional Recreation Committee update.
Thank you. And just an update for committee from Ms. Bieberdorf, so I'll pass it over to her.
Thank you, Chair Bressie. In 2016, the City and County funded a joint recreation master plan to help guide decision-making related to publicly supported recreation facilities and programs. As a result of the plan, the Grande Prairie Regional Recreation Committee was formed and included the City, the County of Grande Prairie, Beaver Lodge, Wembley, Sexsmith, and the MD of Greenview. In 2017, a part-time coordinator was hired to implement the plan, along with an administrative working group comprised of staff from each municipality. A majority of the action items identified in the master plan have been actioned over the last 8 years, resulting in improved communication, collaboration, and relationship building between the municipalities regarding recreation. An evaluation of the committee took place over the last 6 months, and in March, elected officials directed the administrative working group to disband the formal committee and discontinue funding, while maintaining regular meetings between administration of each municipality. The committee has provided significant benefit to the city and region over the last 8 years, and administration will continue to participate in regular meetings to maintain communication and relationships regarding recreation within our neighboring municipalities. And administration is requesting that committee accept this report for information.
Thank you, Ms. Bieberdorf. I'm looking around, seeing if there's any questions. So I do hear Councillor Blackmore. Oh, there's a recommendation to receive for information. I guess before that, my question is, so there was funding attached to that coordinator position. What's going to happen to the funding?
Thank you, Chair Bressie. The funding will just go back into operating, so will be surplus for this year.
Okay, I'll turn over to Councillor Blackmore.
I move the committee receive this report for information.
Not seeing any discussion or debate, so I'll call that to question. And that motion carries. Thank you, and thank you to everybody who's done work on that committee over the years. I think it did some good work in its time. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Whiteway for the outstanding items list.
Thank you, Chair Bressie. So no change to the outstanding items list as presented. We do anticipate there's one item still noted for Q1. We anticipate that to be taken care of here in the next couple weeks.
Great, thank you. Could I get a motion to receive this? Mayor Clayton?
So moved.
Call that to question.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
That motion carries, and with that, I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.